You are listening to PastThink.com audiobook. Please like and subscribe, thank you. Chapter 69. The featherless arrow throws stones at the heroes. Song Jiang abandons grains to capture a brave man. While the brigands were on their way to Liangshan Marsh, Bai Xing arrived and reported to Song Jiang. Lu Junyi attacked Dongchang Prefecture twice, but was twice defeated. In that town there is a very fierce general named Zhang Qing, who is a Zhangde Prefecture man, and is a very skillful horseman. He is unexcelled at throwing stones, and hits his mark every time. He is nicknamed Featherless Arrow. He has two capable adjutants, Gong Wang, nicknamed Flowery Neck Tiger, because his skin is all tattooed like the tiger's. He wears a tiger's head, and on horseback throws his spear with great speed and precision. The other adjutant is called Ding Disun, nicknamed Arrow-Struck Tiger. Both his face and neck are scarred. On horseback he throws his three-pronged trident. Lu Junyi arrived in Dongchang with his men, but for the first 10 days the troops in the town did not come outside. 2 days ago, however, General Zhang Qing came out with his army, and was challenged by Hao Siwen, but after a few bouts Zhang Qing was going to retire into the town. Hao Siwen pursued him on horseback, but Zhang Qing threw a stone which knocked Hao Siwen off his horse. But Yan Qing had also followed them, and he now shot an arrow which wounded Zhang Qing's horse, and so saved Hao Siwen's life. The next day Xiang Cheng and 2 others of our leaders went out to challenge combat, and Adjutant Ding Disun came out to fight them, but he threw his three-pronged trident, and wounded Xiang Cheng in the back. Xiang Cheng then retired, and that was our second defeat. Those 2 wounded leaders are being attended to on our boats. Wu Yong however told me to come and request you to bring all your men to Dongchang to help him. When Song Jiang heard this he was sad, and exclaimed, Lu Junyi has had bad luck. I never anticipated this. We must all go and help him. He at once gave orders for all his men to march to Dongchang Prefecture. The 2 forces were soon united, but while the leaders were discussing the situation a scout arrived and reported that General Zhang Qing and his soldiers had again left the town for a fight. The leaders at once mounted their horses and proceeded to an open field. The 2 forces faced each other with drums beating. General Zhang Qing was attended by his adjutants Ding Disun and Gong Wang. All 3 rode forward, and when they halted General Zhang Qing pointed at Song Jiang and said, You thief from the swamp. Shall we have a fight? Who will fight this man? Asked Song Jiang to his leaders. Immediately one of his heroes dashed forward armed with a hooked spear, and Song Jiang saw that it was Su Ning, the spear expert. Song Jiang was pleased as he knew that this man would be a suitable match for General Zhang Qing. The 2 men fought, but after about 5 bouts General Zhang Qing retired. Su Ning chased him on horseback, but General Zhang Qing put his spear to his left hand and held a stone in his right hand, and when Su Ning drew near he turned in his saddle and threw the stone which struck Su Ning in the face and knocked him off his horse. Both the adjutants galloped forward to capture Su Ning, but at the same time Lu Feng and Guoxing also rode forward, and they succeeded in reaching Su Ning first and rescuing him, carried him back on their horses. Song Jiang now asked for another volunteer, and at once another horseman dashed forward. He was Yan Shun, the elegant tiger. He fought with General Zhang Qing for several bouts, but then realizing that he had no chance of winning he withdrew. General Zhang Qing pursued him, and threw a stone which struck Yan Shun in the back so hard that the latter rode with pain. A man shouted, Who is afraid of this man, and rode forward holding his long mace. This was Han Tao, the ever-victorious general. Han Tao wished to display his skill before Song Jiang, so he did his best. After about 10 bouts General Zhang Qing withdrew. Han Tao did not pursue him as he suspected that Zhang Qing would throw a stone as before. General Zhang Qing did turn round, but seeing that his opponent was not following him he wheeled his horse round and returned. But just as he neared he threw a stone which hit Han Tao on the nose and caused blood to flow, so that Han Tao hurriedly retreated. Upon seeing this Ping Qi, without waiting for orders, dashed forward, but before the two could fight, General Zhang Qing suddenly threw another stone which struck Ping Qi right in the face, and made him drop his sword and ride back to the brigands' ranks. Song Jiang was rather annoyed at these repeated repulses, and was inclined to withdraw all his men. But just then a man called out from behind, "If we were repelled today, how can we fight tomorrow? Will he hit me with a stone as well?" General Song Jiang saw that it was Xian Zan, the disgraced son-in-law. General Zhang Qing called out, "They come and go, one by one, but it would be just the same if they come in pairs. Do you know how I throw stones?" "You have hit others, but you cannot hit me," said Xian Zan. He had not finished saying this when he was struck in the mouth by a stone, and fell off his horse. The adjutants Gong Wang and Ding Disun were going to take him prisoner, but they were outnumbered by the brigands who rushed forward and took Xian Zan back. Song Jiang was very angry at this, and drawing his sword he swore an oath, "If I do not capture this man I will not return." Hu Yanjue interposed, "If you take this oath, of what use are we?" He at once whipped his horse and galloped forward. He called out, "You proud one! You have strength without wisdom. Do you recognize the great General Hu Yanjue? You are a disgrace to our country, and a deserter. You want also to suffer at my hand," replied General Zhang Qing. So saying he again suddenly threw a stone, but Hu Yanjue put up his whip, and received the stone on his wrist. His whip fell to the ground, so he wheeled his horse and retired. Song Jiang called out, "All our mounted men have been repulsed, so now a foot soldier had better have a try." Lu Tang now stepped forward armed with a halberd, but General Zhang Qing laughed at him, and said, "You defeated bandits, your horsemen have suffered at my hand, not to say you a footman." Lu Tang was very angry and advanced, but General Zhang Qing declined to fight with him, and turned back to his army. But Lu Tang ran forward, and struck the general's horse with his halberd. The horse kicked Lu Tang, and knocked him down while General Zhang Qing threw another stone. Lu Tang was arrested and taken prisoner. "Who will rescue Lu Tang?" shouted Song Jiang. Yang Ji now dashed forward on horseback, and General Zhang Qing pretended to defend himself with his spear, but as Yang Ji thrust with his halberd, General Zhang Qing merely evaded the blow. Before Yang Ji could recover his position, he was struck on the head by a stone, and he quickly retreated. Zhu Tong now turned to Lei Hang, and said, "Men are beaten singly, but we too might succeed." Lei Hang agreed, and they both advanced on foot, armed with halberds. General Zhang Qing laughed when he saw them, and said, "One alone was useless, so an extra one is added. But why don't they play for safety and send 10? He secretly got 2 stones in his hand, and suddenly threw one at Lei Hang, whom it hit on the forehead, and knocked him down. Zhu Tong ran to assist Lei Hang, but another stone hit the former. In the ranks of the brigands, Guansheng was angry when he saw this further repulse, and whipping his horse he galloped forward to rescue the 2 leaders. As he got near, however, General Zhang Qing threw a stone, but Guansheng received it on his sword so that it fell to the ground. Guansheng rescued the 2 leaders, and took them back into safety. Dong Ping, the 2 spears general, thought, "I have only recently joined these brigands, and it is now a suitable opportunity to show my skill. If I don't do something here, I shall have no distinction at the mountain stronghold." So he rode forth and charged General Zhang Qing, who called out to him, "We were in command in neighboring towns, and assisted each other in a common cause. Why do you now oppose me? You are a disgrace." Dong Ping was annoyed at this, and they fought. The 4 arms and 3 spears whirled around and flashed, as numerous lunges were made. After about 7 bouts, however, General Zhang Qing retired. "You threw stones at the others," said Dong Ping, "so why not at me?" General Zhang Qing put his spear in its buckle, and taking a stone threw it at his opponent. But Dong Ping knocked the stone to one side with the shaft of his spear. The general threw another stone, but this time Dong Ping crouched and avoided it. This rather disappointed the general, and made him afraid, as Dong Ping was now quite close. Dong Ping lunged with his spear as the 2 horses galloped one behind the other, but General Zhang Qing evaded the blow. The 2 horses were now level, So General Zhang Qing seized Dong Ping with both arms, but failed to pull Dong Ping off his horse. The 2 men and 2 horses were now close together in one mass. Suo Chao, seeing this, dashed forward with his axe to help Dong Ping, but on the other side the adjutants Gong Wang and Ding Disun also galloped forward to intercept the fresh opponents. Now there were 2 separate groups of fighters. Among the brigands Lin Chong and 3 other leaders rode forth. Upon seeing that he was outnumbered, General Zhang Qing released his hold on Dong Ping and retreated. But Dong Ping pursued him right among the soldiers, having forgotten at the moment about the stones. General Zhang Qing reined in his horse, and when Dong Ping was near he suddenly threw a stone. But Dong Ping saw the move, ducked, evaded the stone, wheeled his horse, and galloped away in safety. The general now threw a stone at Suo Chao, which struck that man in the face, so that he at once wheeled his horse and retreated. The other 6 horsemen were still fighting in 2 groups. At last Gong Wang was captured by Lin Chong, while Yan Qing on the brigand's side took his crossbow and shot an arrow, which wounded adjutant Ding Disun's horse, and he was immediately made prisoner. General Zhang Qing would have liked to rescue his adjutants, but decided not to do so as the opposing force was greater than his. So he ordered his army to return to Dongchang. Upon reaching the town, the prisoner Lu Tang was sent to prison, and the prefect entertained General Zhang Qing at a feast. On the other side, adjutants Ding Disun and Gong Wang were sent to Liangshan Marsh as prisoners. Song Jiang was conferring with Wu Yong and Lu Junyi when he said, "I have read that during the 5 dynasties, AD 907, there was a man named Wan Yanzhang who defeated 36 generals in about an hour. Today this General Zhang Qing has done almost the same thing, having defeated 15 of our leaders in about the same time. He is undoubtedly a doughty warrior. But it is evident that he depends a great deal on the assistance of his 2 adjutants, but as we have captured them we can capture him with some strategy." "You need not worry about him," said Wu Yong. "I have carefully noticed his method of fighting. I have long had a plan to capture him. We must now send all our wounded leaders back to Liangshan Marsh, and then order Lu Da and 4 other leaders to arrange carts and boats to proceed by land and water to induce Zhang Qing into our trap." In the town, General Zhang Qing said to the prefect, "Although we have twice defeated the brigands, yet we have not entirely crippled their activities. We must send spies to find out what they are doing." This was done, and it was not long before a scout returned and reported, "On the northwest side there are about 100 carts and about 50 boats on the river. They are evidently all loaded with rice, but I do not know where they came from, but they are approaching the town." "I am afraid that this is some plot of those brigands," said the prefect. "We had better send a spy to find out whether it is really rice or not." This was done, and the following day the scout returned and reported, "The carts are covered with straw, but I saw some grain fell from the cart, and found that it was rice. The boats have covers over the hatches, but I could see the sacks inside evidently filled with rice. I will take soldiers tonight and capture both those carts and boats," said General Zhang Qing. The prefect agreed to this, and arrangements were made accordingly. That night 1,000 soldiers left the town very quietly. There was not much moonlight, but the sky was clear of clouds and the stars were numerous. After going about 3 li, the advance guard saw a train of carts bearing a flag, "Grain for the Loyalty and Justice Hall at Liangshan Marsh." General Zhang Qing saw Lu Da walking in front with his monk's staff over his shoulder. Lu Da pretended not to be aware of the arrival of General Zhang Qing, and for the moment had forgotten about the stone that was to be expected. General Zhang Qing suddenly threw a stone, which struck Lu Da on the head, made a serious wound, and knocked him down. The soldiers now all shouted and rushed forward. Wu Song was there with a halberd, and abandoned the carts, and rushed to rescue Lu Da. General Zhang Qing seized the carts, and was much pleased to find that they really contained rice, so he did not pursue Lu Da, but took the carts into the town with his men. He then left with his army for the south gate, where from the wall he saw many boats on the river loaded with rice. He ordered the gate to be opened, and when they marched out they found there was a thick dark mist obscuring their view so that the men could hardly see each other. This was conjured up by Gongsun Sheng. General Zhang Qing decided to return, but was now uncertain as to which way to go. Just then there came loud shouts from the brigands, but he could not know where the brigands were. In trying to evade the brigands he found himself in the water, and was surrounded by brigand leaders who soon arrested him, and took him as prisoner to their camp. When this news was reported to Song Jiang, he ordered a vigorous attack on the town. The prefect found himself helpless. The city gate was open, and there was sound of bombs outside the town. The brigands were soon in the town, and at once took the prison, and released Lu Tang. They also looted the public granary and treasury, and sent half of the rice and money to Liangshan Marsh on carts, the other half being distributed among the people. As the brigands had no fault to find with the prefect, they did not touch him. The leaders assembled in the yamen, and General Zhang Qing was brought there as prisoner. Many of the leaders showed their anger at the general, who had wounded many of their friends, and wished to have him executed. But Song Jiang advanced, and saluted him saying, "We offended you unintentionally, we ask you to forgive us." He then conducted him to the hall. He had no sooner entered the hall than Luda, with his head bandaged up, stepped forward with his monk's staff to get his revenge. But Song Jiang intervened, and protected General Zhang Qing, who, seeing this exhibition of kindness to a defeated defenseless man, at once saluted Song Jiang and agreed to join the brigands. Song Jiang now took an oath, broke an arrow, and scattered a cup of wine on the ground, and said, "If we seek revenge, heaven will not support us." Nobody could say a word against this, and they all agreed to abandon all ideas of revenge. There was soon general rejoicing at this auspicious climax. The next day they all departed for Liangshan Marsh. Before departing, however, General Zhang Qing introduced to Song Jiang a famous veterinary surgeon, who had a double surname Huangfu, and a personal name Duan. He knew all diseases of horses, and could cure any sickness by either medicine or needle. He was a Yuzhou man, and had green eyes and light-colored beard. He looked like a barbarian, and had got the nickname, Purple-Bearded Uncle. There was need for such a man at Liangshan Marsh, and he was duly enrolled. He took his family with him to the bandits' stronghold. Upon reaching Liangshan Marsh, an assembly was held in the Loyalty and Justice Hall, and there Song Jiang talked very friendly with the two adjutants who were prisoners, and they also agreed to join the band. The new recruits were made leaders, and this brought the total number of the leaders to 108. We will now recount the speech made to the assembled leaders by Song Jiang. 3 dozen heavenly heroes replete. With earthly dozens 6 complete.